Your name?
Margo.
Margo, and what's your question?
My question is music. Where do you get it? How should you use it? When should you use it? Thanks.
Great question. So she said music for everybody. Hey, everybody in the back. Hey, I know y'all are back here. We're going to get you. I'm coming back next, okay? So her question was about music. So where do we get it? When do you use it? How do you use it? Jamie?
And I remember back in the day, you pull music off just directly off YouTube. And then you're like, okay, I've gone through those 44 songs and there's not much left to do. So I just use Epidemic Sound. You know, and you try to find music that just goes with whatever the mood is. I think you can use it well and it'll really set the mood for your video and add to it. A lot of people put music under a lot of the video. Or you can find a song that you like and make it your live stream theme song that people recognize all over the place and have fun with as well. So, but Epidemic Sound, I don't know, it's a couple of, what the price is, $15 a month or something like that. And you go on there, and then, but the good thing, you know, you always have to worry about copyright. And that's one of the other tricky things, and I don't want to get off the question there, but music that you find in your video, you know, you ever get a great video, you have a great scene, and maybe you're on the ship or whatever, and then all of a sudden in the background it's quiet for a minute, and you hear a song playing. Maybe that's another question we can talk about, is how to get that song out of your video or what to do about it. And, but as far as music goes, I use Epidemic Sound.
Yeah, same. Epidemic Sound is, I think it's probably the go-to. There are several out there, but basically these are just services that provide us copyright-free music, and I'd like to say they're good quality songs. You know, they're some of, I think I've used them now for the last 2 years, 3 years in all my videos. It's almost exclusively Epidemic. It saves you from the headache of having a possible copyright strike, or, you know, I remember even once upon a time in between YouTube's free music and Epidemic was SoundCloud, and SoundCloud art, like Ikeson and all that, and there was some great music, but unfortunately with that, you know, you may have a SoundCloud artist that is, for lack of a better term, a nobody, and you know their music is free, and then 2 years from now, everybody finds out they've made great music, they've got a label. Well, now that song is no longer free, and you're getting a copyright strike on that video of yours. So, I think it's safe to say that we stick with the non-copyright songs whenever possible.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I mean, we might as well talk about what Jamie was talking about. One of the biggest challenges when you first start is you're filming in public environments, and you'll get a song on your video, and you do all this work on your video, and then you finally get it uploaded, and you have a copyright strike. You know, you don't have to take every bit of like copywritten music out of your video. But one thing that finally became helpful is make sure you always give yourself enough time to upload your video and let YouTube check it. And sometimes as a daily, it's kind of hard, but fortunately I'm not using a lot of music in the daily, but they'll tell you right away whether or not you have a copyright strike. And so it gives you the opportunity to go back. And so if you're even concerned that, I got a great shot outside, but I hear a song in the background, and a lot of times as long as there's some, you know, talking over it, that kind of thing, you're going to have luck not getting it. Basically, it's robots analyzing sound waves and stuff like that to determine whether you've got a copyright thing. So it's a challenge, especially like if you're trying to, you know, film like on the Lido deck or something like that. Yeah. You know, you're not intending to, you know, steal the copyright music. You're just wanting to, because I like to use the real ambient sound, right, of the moment. And that's the biggest challenge, is just wandering through somewhere with some music, and you're like, oh, I've just lost this hole in the moment kind of shot. But,
well, I think you know that's important.
That's an important piece there. You know, sometimes people you find yourself frustrated that, oh, I wish, you know, they wouldn't have put music over that. I would have liked to heard the, you know, what was happening there. But a lot of times, I know for myself, the music is sometimes a necessity, you know, to avoid upsetting the YouTube robots, right? I would love to have, you know, the deck party and be able to show more of that, or the shows, you know, which, by the way, I think this is a great time to point out, the wonderful guest services team has stopped in and said that wanted to thank us for, you know, being such an amazing group, and hopes that we're enjoying ourselves. They can't wait to see all the photos and videos. The only thing they ask is that we do not film the shows. They said that's a big no-no for them. So they said just pass that along, no filming the shows, please. And if we could help them with that, they'd appreciate it. But a lot of times it's out of necessity to play the music, not so much desire. Jason, you anything to add to that?
Oh, no. I will say on the copyright thing, I've noticed, I've done a lot of editing, and typically I find that if you just keep, if you're talking, say, somewhere and you got background music, you just got to keep that under 10 seconds. But sometimes you end up chopping the footage up a little bit. But because I know that, Elisa and I will film with that in mind. So if I know I can only get 10 seconds, we'll say our thought within 10 seconds, and then I know I can cut that and then start our next thought. You know what I'm saying? So usually if you keep it under 10 seconds, you won't get flat. So that's just something. And so we vlog knowing that accordingly. So.
I run into that where you have a great clip and you're like, oh, that's great, and then you upload it and it says you get a copyright. So there's a few things you can do to try to kind of get out of that. One thing I've learned to do is you can change the pitch of the music. Like I'll use Premiere Pro in Adobe, and I'll take that section of the audio and I'll use a pitch shifter, and it'll make it a little higher or lower pitch, and that way it doesn't sound the same as what the robots that Tony is so familiar with will, and they won't recognize the pitch. So then it won't sound the same. Now you can run into stuff where you could be recording somebody that's playing here who's singing an Adele song, and if it sounds much like Adele, then it's going to get flagged for copyright, even though it's not Adele. But if it's somebody who's making an original version of the song or something very different, then they may not notice it. So pitch shifting is one thing. Or sometimes I'll take the same clip and audio clip and duplicate it, but then I'll just move it like about a frame ahead or behind. So it almost sounds like a slight repeat in the audio, and you don't notice it much when you're watching the video, but that might make it enough that the robots can't really notice it. And so there's a few curveballs and a few things you can do to keep the audio in there and not dilute it. Or if you're talking about talking, you could go in and once you're done with the video, you could say something, you could record something, put it on top of the video while that music's playing, just to try to throw the robots off the course.
And another little thing we do is just because we vlog so much, we know what's going to happen, so we just kind of adjust. So, but if we're in a situation where we can't move and there's music and we need vlog, then we'll make our talking points quick, keep it under the 10 seconds, easy to edit that way, right? But for the most part, we'll just go where there's no music.
Yeah.
Right? If you're vlogging, just go where there's no music and say what you got to say. And when you do as much as we do, you kind of plan for that. So.
Yeah, you can get your in the moment stuff, and then when you want to talk about that or give an update or something,
Let's
you
walk over here with
find somewhere quiet. That was a great question.